Hello, how you doing? I'm itching already, y'all. Long time no see. I'm going to talk today about the Nephilim. There's a lot of confusion about the Nephilim. Who are they? The Book of Enoch. There's a lot of confusion. I think what people don't understand is there is a difference between the devil and the rebel angels. The one third of the rebel angels that rebelled against God, they are devils. God turned them into devils, which they did not expect. And then you have the Nephilim that are the offspring of the angels, according to the book of Enoch, 200 angels mating with the daughters of men. That's forbidden in heaven. Okay, they violated the rule. That's immortality because angels are immortal, mating with mortality. And as such, the angels exposed themselves to sin because by the time they mated with human women, there was sin on the earth. Okay, so you got to understand this. These 200 angels, all the angels are very handsome, very beautiful. All of them are. Okay, so they made it with, Bible says, beautiful women. So the offspring they're going to be handsome. The offspring of the Nephilim, they are going to be handsome. Okay, that's why the Bible says they were men of renown, because the human women were still swooning over these 25,000 feet handsome men. Because the women were still swooning. Okay, the ones who hadn't made it with the angels, they were swooning over these very handsome, very tall men. And you got to understand, so now the Nephilim they're on the earth, so they are subject to the earth, and they are exposed to sin. Now, the Bible does not say if they grew up fatherless or not. The Bible does not say at what age were their fathers, the angels, thrown into hell, Tartarus. The fallen angels, the 200 or so fallen angels that made it with human women, they still have their countenance. In other words, they don't have the glory of God on them, so they still look like men. They still, to this day, have their countenance. They don't look like monsters, unlike the rebel angels. The one third of rebel angels, could be millions. It is millions. They lost their countenance. They became monsters, devils. But the fallen angels, they still have their countenance. They just covered, the Bible says they're covered in darkness. So they become sinful. So as you know, it says that they taught human women this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. So the flood happened and destroyed everybody. So Peter said only 8 souls survived. 8 souls survive. The Nephilim were dead. All the people there, as we know them to be people, were dead. Okay, only 8 people survived. So how is it that after the flood, up until Joshua was fighting giants because there was another incursion. There was another incursion by, I don't know, a group of angels. Could be 2 or 3, could be 1. But all of a sudden, from the flood, end of the flood, where Noah and his family repopulated the earth up into Joshua was fighting giants. Why? Because there was another incursion. And we don't know how many incursions there were. It could have been 2 out. There were 2 or more, because there was the first incursion in Genesis chapter 6. And then after the flood, there was another incursion. And there could have been many more incursions. But these were incursions from the lesser angels, so to speak. The lesser angels, who are not as tall as the original 200. They may have been 6 feet or 5'9", but they're not as tall as the watchers. These were the lesser angels. That's probably why Joshua was able to fight them, because they were 10 feet tall. He can handle somebody's 10 foot tall. But the first group of Nephilim, they could have been 25,000 feet. Hard to handle. But Joshua was fighting giants, from Joshua to David to King Saul. King Saul and David both are fighting giants. Why? Because there were somewhere between the flood, when Noah Noah and his sons repopulated the earth, and up through Joshua, up to David and Saul, there was incursions, and we don't know how many. The Bible does not say how many incursions there were. Now Moses said, he said it. He said it also happened after that. He said also after that. Also what? Also when the sons of God came to the daughters of men, it happened again after what? After the first incursion. He said it happened again. And he doesn't tell us how many times it happened, but it did happen again. From definitely after the flood, when after the they repopulated the earth, to Joshua, up to King Saul and David, up until now. Evidently, the Nephilim have a breeding population. In other words, it's not all males that are born; it's females that are born. Because for them to survive up until now, they have to have a breeding population. They have to have females born unto them. And you notice that the skeletons that they find of these giants, you see more and more deterioration. You see the pointed heads and so on, because the first generation of Nephilim, when the angels made with the daughters of men, they super smart, because angels are probably 1 million times smarter than human beings. So the first generation of Nephilim were super smart, the ones with 25,000 feet. And then the next generation came in. But you notice that according to the fossils, they getting more and more deteriorated and shorter, to be truthful, maybe 9 foot, 8 feet tall, but they got the pointed heads and all that. Which means there's not much intelligence if they got pointed heads. You got to have a large brain to have intelligence. So you notice they're getting more and more deteriorated as time goes by. And giants in all cultures. This is in the white culture. You see the giants. You see it in the American Indian culture, South American culture, African culture. They in every culture under the sun, just about. They Japanese, Chinese culture. Now I want to say this about the fallen angels. They still have their countenance. They don't look like now the rebel angels look like monsters, demons. They are demons, monsters. The fallen angels, they still have their countenance. And human women are still having sex with the fallen angels, or either the fallen angels are still having sex with human women, however you want to say that. Definitely the African women are doing that. One African lady said she had 6 children by a fallen angel. 6, 3 boys, 3 girls. Now, those children are not on the earth. They may be on the earth, but they those what you call black-eyed children. They inherently evil because they're raised in hell. They're inherently evil. There's no redemption for them. I just wonder why African women are doing this. Why not just not have the children be born? Because they're doomed to hell. I don't know why African women keep having children by these fallen angels, because they're doomed to hell. And it's not just African women that are having babies by these fallen angels. It's women all around the world having sex with these fallen angels because they're fascinated by that, having sex with a fallen angel. Okay. But like I said, the second and up incursions, they were the lesser angels. They weren't as tall and as mighty as the first 200 group of angels. They were the lesser angels, if you will. And the other thing is that fallen angels, like I said, all the angels are many times more intelligent than human beings. That's where we get the spaceships and plasma TVs, okay? It's where we get it from, because they're many more times smarter than us. As are the devils. That's why, Satan knows your weakness. He knows, that's why when people sell their soul to Satan, show me the secret of a plasma TV. How do I invent a plasma TV? They invented plasma TV, so they just show them they sold the soul for it. Blah. Okay. Let me say this about the Nephilim. They are exposed to sin, so therefore they have no choice but to be evil. They are not handsome because, like I said, over the years they have deteriorated. Sin has deteriorated them. They are controlled by Satan because they're hybrids. Anything that's not 100% human is controlled by the devil. They're controlled by Satan. They have a breeding population. Evidently, it's females born there. They have a breeding population. And there's giants, in Solomon Islands, in Alaska. They live underground in the crags of the rocks. They're many more times intelligent than a human being. Now, what you see when they dig up these fossils is probably they're doing battle with somebody. So my guess is that they're doing battle with the angels of God. The angels of God hit them with something in their head, a rock or something, and that killed them. You see that. You see the skulls of these creatures. They have like a hole in their head. I guess the angels of God, when they did battle with them, they hit them with a rock or something. Now, what my guess is that they ask God a favor. They say, look, we won't mess with human beings. We won't aggravate human beings. We won't even kill them if you stop killing us. Because God was his intent, particularly, he wiped the first generation out. His intent after the flood, when they had more incursions and more Nephilim born on the earth, was to wipe out all of the Nephilim. My guess is that they asked God a favor. Will you let us go into the crags of the rocks and underneath the earth, and we won't mess with human beings. We won't mess with them. So that's what God did. He did him a favor. There is a precedent of God doing favor for things like this. When the demons were in the pigs, when the demons came out of a man and went into the pigs, they asked Jesus, will you please send us into the swine? And then the swine drowned themselves. So there is a precedent of even demons asking the Lord a favor. Will you let us do this? Let us do that. Now, I don't know all the secrets of the spiritual world, why they wanted to go into a swine, because the swine ended up killing themselves. I don't know that. I mean, I don't know all the secrets of the spiritual world. But what my guess is the Nephilim, these descendants of the Nephilim, asked God a favor. Please don't kill us. Let us go into the crags of the rocks. Let us go underneath the earth, and we won't mess with human beings. And so God let them go into the crags of the rocks. Now, I don't know if they died. I mean, how can they die? They half immortal. So they can't die. But then they have to die because they part man. So I don't know what happens to them. Evidently, some did die after the angels killed them. So they did die in that way, but they confined to the earth. But I don't know if they died natural death or anything. I would think that, like that giant of Kandahar, let's just say that did exist. All that did happen. The giant of Kandahar, I would think that thing is probably 3,000, 6,000 years old. I would think that it is. So that's what my take is on the Nephilim. Have a nice day.